Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the Amateur, where we're here just to talk life, hobbies, politics, ideologies, what have you. And on today's episode, we're going to be going into the hot topic issue of student loan forgiveness from the government. And I posted a community post rant on this. But before I get into that, just like a quick update again, school. Still trying to find a place, so I'm coming from you live from my cousin's room at my aunt's house. So that's a thing that I'm dealing with, and trying to find housing and renting is just crazy. So I think I found a spot, but we'll see more to follow on that. But when it comes to loans, just in general, and especially when it came to school, we were taught by my mom. She was very financially intelligent and literate. We were told to never get a loan from the government. Never get a loan from the government. Grants are fine. Grants you don't have to pay back. Loans you do, okay? So she taught all of her daughters that. 3 of us listened, 1 did not, and she's learning the hard way. So it's not that I can't empathize, but that was like one of the major things with loans. Loans are debt. Loans are debt, okay? It's money that you don't have that you will have to pay back. So usually with loans, if you're going to talk about financing, you don't want to get more than you actually have or more than you can afford to pay back. That's the same thing with credit cards. Don't ever charge more on your credit card than you can afford to pay back at the time that you're buying. It doesn't make sense. Like, don't put yourself in debt like that. But besides the point, when we were coming to the college age, she told all of us, like, I'm not paying for your college, which, you know, somewhat have your thoughts on that, but they told us that they're not going to pay for college, so you need to figure it out. Fortunately for us, we did live in Georgia, where we have things like the Hope Grant, or the Pell Grant, I believe. 2 different grants that are offered in the state of Georgia, depending on your GPA. All of my sisters are very smart and intelligent, 4.0 GPAs, 3.8 GPAs, I can remember, but we were very smart. We made that requirement. And depending on what we did or did not go to school based off that. We had other difficulties, or switching classes and all these other things, or not maintaining grades once they get to college. But the point of the matter, though, was our mom said she wasn't going to pay for our school. We need to figure it out. We all eventually got scholarships. We found someone else that was willing to pay for us to go to school, for the most part, except for the one sister. And her story is like really weird too, so she's also different. But so the point of the matter, though, is that loans are money that you don't have, okay, and you have to pay back. That's in the contract. That's what you're supposed to have read and what's supposed to have signed. So that was you saying that you can trust my word, that this is my word to you, that I will pay you back what you're giving me in advance, because I don't have the finances right now. This is something that I need, yada yada yada. Saying this goes for all loans. This goes for all loans. Like, this goes for all loans. Like, this isn't a new concept. It's not a new concept. And so the first part of this whole situation is that the government doesn't have money to loan. It never had money to loan. The government it can't pay for anything. The government is funded by taxpayer dollars. So it's not their money to loan. And so I don't get why people don't understand that. Like, of course, the government doesn't mind forgiving student loan debts. It's not their money to forgive, you know? So it's like, yeah, sure. Like, what does it mean to the government to just say, yeah, sure, we'll cover that? It's not no loss to them. So this is like not even their money that they're having to pay for. This is coming from taxpayer dollars. And so the root of this issue is actually the education system. It's the universities, it's the colleges. And like, I made a Twitter post on this. I'm new to Twitter, so see how that goes. But essentially said, like, maybe instead of asking for the safe places and all the other weird things that you are begging the schools to do, why don't you ask them to lower the freaking cost of tuition? Because it's insane. It is actually legitimately insane, and I'll get into that later. But like, good lord, the cost of school is way higher than it needs to be, based off just the overall inflation that the colleges and universities have seen since the 60s. Like, it's way higher. It's like almost 5 times, 6 times higher than the inflation that has been going on. So that's the main issue. And then so the problem as well with how Biden, again, I actually haven't read it, so amateur, haven't read the full thing or what the proposition is, but what I've been hearing, and I'll see if I usually go look at it after I do the video. I should probably do it beforehand. Besides the point, but essentially what it is there's a $300 billion funding to support students, to give all students of student loans $10,000, and this goes to all students that make at least $125,000 and below that. But the issue is that this is literally stealing from the poor to give to the rich. And this isn't about race. It's never about race. It's about class. Okay? And the problem is that I want to say the median income of the United States is about $79,000, which means half of the population makes much less than that. They make much less than that. And then you're wanting to take their money to give to people who earn more than them on an annual income just because they made the decision to go to school, which they didn't have to, and that's going to be a later topic. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense to me. So even like in acknowledging that, sure, we want to help students or whatever, like you're stealing from the poor to give to the rich. And in what world does that ever make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. So going back to the school systems, there's just been this lie that has been pushed out ever since like at preschool. And it's this lie that you have to go to college, you have to go to university, or you won't be successful, or you won't have a good job. And it's this very elitist mindset. Like, I can't stress enough how elitist it is. And I made this point on Twitter, and like, this is where, like, again, I'm new to Twitter, and people just act different. I don't know why, but it blew up. This person just like, I'm so elite, I'm so elite, I'm so elite. I was like, yeah, because like, we do such a disservice. Like, college is not meant for everyone. Everyone does not need college. Not everyone needs college, and that's okay. Like, some people thrive in learning in situations and environments like school, and some others don't, as well as just what you're interested in doesn't always need a bachelor's degree, and that's been the system that's been rigged, of having these superficial, kind of almost superficial requirements. It was just the point that what we're getting from the universities right now isn't actually educated people. And that's been a thing that we've been seeing, especially on recent viral YouTube videos of college kids, recently graduated college kids, not being able to answer basic facts about the United States.
How many stars are on the United States flag?
103.
103?
I know, but I don't.
Yeah.
51? 32.
What country is the Queen of England from?
I'm not a politics guy, I ain't gonna lie, I don't know. I really don't know.
Just take a guess, like what country is the Queen of England from?
Europe? I don't know. I don't know, I just took a guess.
What ocean is on the east side of the United States?
Pacific? No, I can't do the oceans. I don't do the oceans. Pacific, right?
Can you name the 3 Kardashian sisters?
Kim, Courtney, and Chloe.
Bonus points for the brother?
Robert.
What?
Rob.
What's the capital of the United States?
There's a capital? What?
Yes.
Lexi.
Take a guess.
I don't know. Probably California.
Yeah, that's right.
It is?
No.
Threes.
No.
Yes, you do, man. Take a guess.
Can I think about it?
Yeah, go ahead. How many make up 1 dozen?
How many make up 1 dozen? How many what?
Like, how many eggs are in 1 dozen?
10.
How long is 1 decade?
1 decade. No idea.
Do you know who the president was before Trump?
No.
Who's the president of the United States?
Biden?
Who's the vice president?
I do not know. I do not.
The current vice president.
I know who it is, but I can't get his name.
Do you know what 3 times 3 times 3 is? No, you know it. You know it.
Is it 9? No. Is it? No.
You tell me.
3 times. Dude, you got me doing math and I'm second place.
Do you know what year the U.S. was established?
18 something? No.
Yes. What's 3 times 3 times 3?
3 times 3. 9?
Yes. Who fought in the Revolutionary War?
I don't even know what that war is, to be honest.
Do you know who the leader of Russia is?
I forgot his name.
Do you know what the First Amendment is?
My history teacher would be disappointed in me.
No.
Like, how is that not an issue? Or the fact that they're more likely to be raising social activists or teaching people to be social activists and not actually having anything to add to society. They're trying to destroy the society, and that's what they're doing.
These cops are watching this happen. There's another one.
Hey! Yeah, you didn't even get out of here! Person of America, but she had to tell me she was black.
You came to the most liberal campus in Ohio and didn't expect this reaction? I thought you guys were tolerant.
Pay for me, girl! You wouldn't know a person if it hit you in the face! Fuck you! That's somebody's car!
Like, what are you paying for? And what are you asking the other people? What are you asking the average citizen to pay for? Because if it's that, they shouldn't have to get that. And so it's this lie that one, that you have to go to college to be successful. If you don't have a job that requires you to have a degree, then you're not a success, or that you're never going to ever make it in life. But two, it's just like, we live in the day and age of social media. So like, we are in a whole new territory where you literally have the knowledge and information of everything that someone is learning in the school in the palm of your hand, in your phone, or you can go to a library. So pretty much all that colleges are doing right now is they're offering you a networking system, and that's what you'll hear a lot of people say, is that they go for the socialization and for the experience. And you want to pay $30,000 a year for experience? No. Let's think better about that. But essentially, some networking, depending on the professionals that are teaching, they might have a niche skill of knowledge or language. But again, those things available elsewhere online, and a guided path to make sure that you have a set number of readings and a qualification test. And I think we're missing out. Business idea for anyone who wants to take this up is just to dismantle this big conglomerate of a education system that we're in right now, to make their own new system. Like, we don't need the schools to be educated. You don't. Like, again, like, all the information that you need is free. It's free and it's available. So what someone could do, if they wanted to kind of capitalize on that, is make their own accredited university where all they're going to do is they're going to give you, these are the lesson objectives for an entire course. You need to make sure that you understand this, learn about it, read about it however you want. You pay to be enrolled into the school, you pay to take the test. And once you take the test, you're certified in that class. Once you get all certain certifications of knowledge of this, you have your degree, or something along those lines. It's the baseline idea. I'm just throwing it out there. Again, like, if you have that kind of mindset, like, just, and that way, like, that kind of system offers more freedom to the student, offers more freedom for them to study and learn what they actually need to do. Because all they're doing is just, the test is just for them to display that they're able to accurately handle that knowledge and information, and to be able to think critically. And so all that school would need to do is have a programmer or a system to, set up the design and people to grade the tests. Depending on what it is, obviously, if you're going to do more science-based labs that require testing and experiments, that's a whole other thing. But for some of the more basic schools and knowledge and learning, you don't need all that. You don't need all the experience of the college institutions. And so you can have a more affordable, a more cost-effective means of getting that education. But again, with social media being this day and age, you don't even have to finish high school to be successful. Like, you just gotta look cute, honestly, for a lot of people, or be stupid. I shouldn't say it like that. Or, like, do a lot of stupid things, or just, like, be creative in your own way. But, like, we live in a day and age where if you have a passion, you can do it. You can make your own business out of it. It doesn't take much. And if you need help, your family is supposed to be the security net that you use and rely on to help you get to where you need to be, especially if you are falling on hard times. And that's portrayed in the Bible as well, that you're supposed to be able to go to your family if you need help or need a helping hand. And so I try to do that with my family as best as possible, and that's why the family is so important, so that you have that safety net to fall back on. But the point of the matter, though, is nothing in this country. I don't say nothing, but the main thing that's going to be stopping you from getting what you want and where you want to go is your own self and your own personal motivation, because no one's going to tell you no, or the only person who's going to tell you no that means anything is yourself. I got to be able to phrase that better, but essentially you are your own worst enemy. You're going to be the only thing that's in your way. Okay, so get out your own way so you can get to where you need to go. But one of the favorite lessons that I learned from one of my mentors was that if someone wants you to do it, they will pay you to do it. And that goes for everything. And that's literally life. If someone wants you to do it, they'll pay you to do it. So, and this goes for schools, this goes for hobbies, this goes for passions, desires, whatever. Like on TikTok, a lot of small companies have blossomed and bloomed just because they put their business out there. A lot of people got interested. We see this on freaking YouTubers and platforms, that if like people want to hear you speak, and this is just with podcasts, it doesn't take much to be a podcaster. Hi, I'm here as an example. It doesn't take much to do that, but if someone wants you to keep doing what you're doing, they will pay you to do it, whether that's through donations, whether that's through buying their merch, some sort of workaround way to support it. And if someone wants you to do it, they'll pay you to do it. There will be some investment on the front end on yourself, and usually that's with time, so that you're investing in yourself by honing your craft, either it's studying, whether it's practicing, whatever it is. If you want to be good at it, you have to invest in yourself first before you present that to other people. And so that, again, so that was just the biggest thing, was like, if someone's gonna, because I tried paying for school without a scholarship. I wasn't gonna take out a loan. But I just tried paying for school without a scholarship. Do not recommend it. Do not recommend it. It's not fun. Never pay for school. Never pay for school if you don't have to. Yeah, never pay for school if you don't have to. Have someone else pay for school who wants you to go to school, who has the money to pay for school for you. That's my recommendation. That's my recommendation. I know it sounds weird based off what this rant is, but like, it has to be freely given, okay? Not taken because you want to take it. And that's the point. That's the whole point of this, is that you said that you would pay it back, and now that you can't or won't or whatever else the issue is, you're going to force someone else to do it, and that's not okay. But yeah, so like but along those lines, there are so many grants, there are so many scholarships, there are so many organizations that exist, like very niche organizations. Like if you are a black woman engineer interest or whatever, and there's a society for that, or if you're a male and gay and whatever, there's a society. If you're a white male, there's not really a niche. They don't offer that now because of how we are. But point of the matter, though, there's always going to be a niche group or organization that's together, that's willing to give money, whether it's the alumni or what have you, a group of successful people that come together in order to mass and pool their funds to provide these scholarships, to provide these grants, to provide that additional support that a young student might need. You just got to look for them and find them. And that's kind of the whole point as well, is that you don't need the government. You don't need the government. You don't need the government. And so just real quick, because I forgot to mention this as well, but another one of my favorite quotes that I had from my mentor was the acronym YAHOO. And it was, you always have other options. So like, regardless of where you are in life, if you feel like you're trapped or in a corner, there's always something else that you can do to help get yourself out of that situation, whether it's asking for help or looking in another direction, looking another route, but you always have other options. So for those who are saying they were forced to take this loan, it's just like, no, you weren't. There was other routes to gaining that education. There's other routes to that school than having to take the loan in order to gain your education. So YAHOO, you always have other options. You don't need the government. You just need people to care and have them to have them care. And you can do that without forcing the government to make them do things that they don't want to do. Like, that is the whole point of the free market. That's the whole point of the free market. And I think that's going to be a slightly later rant later, but there's also something where this now day and age shuns internships, and they shun that free labor. But it may be something, even if you don't go to school, people will always take free labor if you show that you're competent enough and capable enough of learning. Half the jobs these days don't require a degree. They just need you to have some on-the-job training and some good critical thinking skills, which you don't necessarily need school to go to train or hone and learn. And so it might be something where, again, when you have your family as a safety net, you take an internship. And this is even something where if you work in a field or in an area where it requires equipment that you can't afford, that is too expensive, but they have this business that's already here, and it gives you that ability to practice on that equipment or use that equipment or whatnot because you're there, take the opportunity to help yourself so you don't have to spend that money. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to give them some of the free labor, but you're also going to be taking that to invest in yourself while getting that experience, that hands-on experience that a lot of jobs are needing. And then you can later take that and progress. And you say, well, if I don't have a job, then again, this is again the family safety net coming into place, where you might need to live at your parents' or a sister's place a little bit longer, if they're willing to help you and can help you, and if Fort can afford to help you, keep you under their roof just a little bit longer while you are honing in and crafting your skill and making yourself better and more marketable. So that's all of that. The second thing is that no one forced these students to take the loan. No one dragged them by their hand and said, you need to sign this done in life or I'm going to shoot you in the head. Like, literally no one forced them to take the loans. It doesn't affect all students, as well as the fact that, you know, there are other people who did what they were supposed to do. They said that they would pay the loan, and they worked hard to pay it back. There's a story that I read that's like, hey, it took me 8.5 years to get my bachelor's degree because I wanted to make sure that I could study and work at the same time so I could pay my debt off. And it's just like, people, you can do what you need to do to graduate. There's always this huge rush just to go, like, to be super, which is a balance, but like, why do you want to be in debt? I don't get all that. But one of the biggest reasons that the left and these people are saying that this student loan debt forgiveness is a good thing is because, you know, these loans are predatory, and you know, 18-year-olds aren't smart enough or wise enough or know enough to know better not to sign. And that would be a very valid argument if it wasn't the same people who were forcing kids to transition. Like, they think that a 16-year-old or a 12-year-old is old enough or smart enough or is capable enough or has enough knowledge to be able to change their gender, to be able to transition. But an 18-year-old is not old enough or wise enough or smart enough to know not to sign a loan that they can't afford to pay back based off a very shaky job market. Does that make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, actually, I would agree that the loans are predatory in the fact that I mean, the whole system is just bad, but definitely the fact, I mean, this is including loans from banks and loans from governments, but either way, yeah, loans are predatory, especially when you're talking about a young kid who's just off the blocks, just off the street. Like, I would agree with that, but you can't use that argument and still also promote gender transitioning for 4-year-olds, for that social transition that you're wanting to put this little child through and confuse them more. Doesn't make sense. That doesn't add up. And then I recently subscribed to the LFR family, and there was a video that I think he just recently pushed out, and I really liked what Van said, and it was just like, the things that you worked for are going to be more fulfilling once you've completed it. Like, anything that's been freely given or just handed out, usually you don't care about it because it wasn't yours to care about. Does that make sense? So usually it's the gifts that someone gives to you that ends up being treated the worst, because it's just like, oh, I can waste it. This isn't my money. This is someone else's money. I can just do what I want, versus the things that car that you worked really hard to pay off all on your own, that you got on your own, and that is now yours, and that's your baby to hold and cherish forever. Whatever it is, that usually it's the things that you have to work for that end up being more meaningful, as well as just the fact that a blanket forgiveness of these loans just encourages the behavior more, and it doesn't address the root issue, which is why are freaking tuition costs so freaking high, and why isn't the universities the ones that are being demanded to lower the cost and to be the ones to forgive the loans or forgive the student charges. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way that these colleges and universities have profited so much off of their tuition fees is like redonkulous. And for what? Especially during the COVID time where people weren't even using their installation. It was just from a computer, and you were having them pay, like, I hope the costs went down. I don't know because I wasn't in school at that time, but it's wild to me. It's wild to me. And so just like as an overall type of observance, again, I'm not no economist, I don't know these types of things, but one thing that I would really like to see is just stop the income tax. No more income tax. You can tax luxury items, you can tax property based off square footage of a house. So that's like, you can go increasingly high for like mansions and stuff where your people are living well beyond where they need to be as far, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if people who own millions of dollars, $100 million mansion, like, I don't care if their property gets super taxed. Like, it is what it is. But that'd be based off like square footage. You can again tax luxury items, have an import tax, but no more income tax. You get to keep what you earn, and then you can choose how you want to spend the money that you earn on the things that you want. And if that were to happen, then the government would have a significantly less amount of money that they get to work with, which means that they actually have to have a budget that they need to stick with, and not just print money that they don't have. And so what that would force as well is to, you have to manage salaries, cut off departments and entities that aren't, they're not providing anything, or there's nothing that the people are asking for. I think, again, that's like my big overall solution. Unfortunately, though, the 16th Amendment did say, essentially said that the federal government has a right to income tax. And if that were the case, I would still say that there needs to be like a 10% max flat rate across the board. Doesn't matter how much you earn, 10% is going to go to the government, and that's it. That's it that the government gets. Because if God doesn't ask more than 10% of us, then why is the government getting more than 10% from us? Because that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. And so some issues with that would just be funding and supporting the military. I do think the military is a necessary institution. But it might need to be downsized, slow raises and promotions, and focus more on maintenance, if that makes any sense. And then just overall as a government, we have a spending problem where we're spending taxpayer dollars on things that don't need to be spent on. Like, the government just sent like 40 billion to Ukraine. There's another 400 billion or whatever going elsewhere that's not to the taxpayers, or not to the interests of the taxpayers, if that makes any sense. Or it's going to not even just the student loans. Like, even if you were in support of the student loans, it's like all the money that they're spending elsewhere isn't actually going to help the people that it needs to help. It's like, that's like a whole issue, but there's definitely not a lot of transparency on the things that the government is funding, and there's no receipts. And that's a major key, because there's no receipts, there's nothing showing who's approving what, and that this is the receipt that this money went to where it was supposed to go. And so, like, there's none of that in our government right now, in our federal government, and that's wholly an issue. But that's a whole other topic as well. And so, again, like, the better solution, I think, as well, would just be for the government, what the government could do is tell the colleges and the universities, you need to eat your costs, because you benefited from inflating your prices 6 times higher than the national inflation rate. So you've had years of increased costs that you didn't earn. Like, the tuition didn't get any better, the knowledge and education didn't get significantly better to justify those costs. So, like, universities, this isn't the government's responsibility. Like, university, maybe you just need to eat your costs, forgive the student loans, drop the charges or whatever that is. I don't know what the legalities of that are, but it's a better solution than pulling money from the poor to give to the rich. And if we don't do any of the other things that I just previously mentioned, I think at a minimum would be removing the interest from government loans at a minimum, because why is the government making money off of money that's not theirs? Like, I know that interest isn't going back to the taxpayers, that's for sure, in their tax refunds. I've never received the full amount of refund that was supposed to receive based off the numbers and estimates. So it's just like, there shouldn't be any interest on government loans, and just pay back what you're supposed to pay back or whatever, if that's going to be the case. But I also just think that if you're going to take a loan from the government, it just needs to be owed back with military service, and that's the only exchange that needs to be had of loans from the government, is you're going to owe back some time with military service. 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, that needs to be like, hey, that's sufficient, here's your degree, but also give me back some time. That's for me, again, that's like the only acceptable loan exchange. Other than that, go to a bank, go to another facility, go to an organization and request a scholarship or grants. But the government should not be loaning out money for a government that's in trillions of dollars of debt. They don't have money to loan. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That does not make any sense to me. And so overall, I think social issues need to be solved by the people and not down from the government. Like the government's job is to protect and not necessarily to provide, because the government doesn't have money to provide. The money comes from the people. And so you need to ask the people to support, and you can do that by creating communities, creating colleges, creating all these societies, but it doesn't need the government to come in to snatch money from different people to give to a certain subgroup. That doesn't make any sense, and it's just not fair. So it's just not fair. It's not equitable, it's not equality, it's not fairness, it's just selfishness. And so, all that said, like, if you are in support of this policy and you don't necessarily have anything to gain from it, you haven't thought it through all the way, I don't think. And if you do support it because you have something to gain, then it is selfish, and you can't claim to support equity and fairness or equality, because this is none of those things. And so, like, I can sympathize with the students who did take a predatory loan. They are in this debt. Like, I have family members, not just my sisters, but outside of my family, that have student loans that they need to pay back, and it's quite unfortunate. But in my humble opinion, I think it's a win-win for us all if we actually attack the institutions, like the colleges and universities, and not the government, because no, but go after the universities and colleges and demand them to lower the tuition costs, as well as to forgive their exorbitant amounts of fees for tuition. And I think that'll be a win-win for us all. But what the heck do I know? I'm just an amateur. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let me know what resonated with you. Any thoughts or comments. What did I get wrong, or what did I not understand? What did I miss? Because again, I did not read what was supposed to be in this whole plan. So I am just going off what I think I know. So could be wrong. But make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.